Hello, I'm Lucy. I'm the early years dietitian. For those of you that haven't met me before, I'm glad that you found me. I'm a dietitian with over a decade's experience, and I specialise in working with younger children, particularly with fussy eating, introducing solids, allergies, lots more. Now, what I'm here to talk to you today about is a question that comes up all the time with the parents that I work with and people contacting me on social media, and that is screen time. And the question that is often asked is it really bad? How do I get rid of it? What am I supposed to do? So I am going to unpick all of those questions for you right now. So the answer to the first question around are screens bad really depends on the situation that you're in, your family situation, but most importantly, your child. Now, for some children, screens play a really important part of their mealtime and their eating experience. So, for example, if you have a child that has hyper anxiety about eating, if you have a child that is neurodivergent and they find eating very difficult, or they find the sensory experience of eating or their environment very difficult, then screens can play an important role, because it helps to take their mind off the situation at hand. It can help them to focus in and zone out from things they're finding difficult. And we don't want to remove the screen from a child like that, okay? Because when we are helping a child to enjoy food, we're just helping them to enjoy life in general. Taking something away that is going to make their life more difficult is definitely not something that we want to do. So if that is your child, I actually want to reassure you that the screen is not a negative thing and actually not something you necessarily need to worry about, okay? Then we come on to thinking about children in general. And one of the first things I ask parents when we're talking about screens, or if they ask me, is why was that screen introduced? Okay. Now, I've already talked about the children that really do rely on it and really need it. For other children, it can feel like their child is relying on it and needing it, but it's different if they've become reliant on it because it's just become habitual and they are associating their tablet or whatever it is they're watching with the mealtime. That's an association they have made, and yes, it might help them to eat, but it's not something that they're inherently reliant on, okay? And one of the reasons that parents first start screens is because they worry that their child isn't eating enough or isn't eating well enough, and actually, often in that instance, it is started and it hasn't been needed. So if you'd have come and found me, for example, before doing that, I might have done an assessment and looked at your child and said, actually, they're eating absolutely fine. We definitely don't need to think about that. But if your child is having a screen because you're trying to encourage them to eat more, I would actually encourage you to watch some of my other videos, maybe get some advice from me around, is my child eating enough? Are they growing well? Those are the kinds of things we need to think about. Children know how much food they need to eat. And if you're trying to encourage them to have more by distracting them with a screen, yes, we know from research that distraction is likely to make them eat more. It definitely does with us for adults. But that might not be necessary. They might be eating plenty and you maybe need to adjust your expectations. Okay, so was the screen required in the first place is always an important thing to think about. Now, once you've established whether or not the screen is actually needed for a reason, or whether this is something your child has just become reliant on, then we think about, can we remove the screen? Now, then we come on to thinking about what we're going to do. Now, again, when I'm working one-to-one with a family, if we have a child that is using a screen and needs it, it is definitely not the first thing that I look at changing, because when you have a fussy eater, even if they're not completely reliant on it, sometimes it can still be a good way to help a child come to the table, to feel relaxed, etc. So it's not something that I would necessarily just go, cold turkey, let's take it away. For some children, that is fine. If you have a child that is generally happy at the table, they're coming up willingly, They eat meals where the screen is not there, and you're happy that that mealtime is a place where you can make it a positive experience without the screen, I think you can say, we're going to take the screen away. And you can always say, we're not having the screen right now. Once we've finished, you can have your screen, or we're doing something else. Don't just say no, say, yes, you can have it, but this is when we're having it. It tends to help with the tantrum or the negative emotions that they're going to feel with it taken away. For other children, if we cannot just take it away straight away, what we do need to think about are the ways that we help your child to feel more confident, more happy at the dinner table. So we can get to, or even if you don't eat at a table, wherever it is that they are eating, so we can get them to a place where they are feeling confident, they are happy there. And then we think about taking that screen away. What can sometimes work as well is saying, we normally have meals where we don't have it, but when my child isn't eating very well, that's when we introduce it. That's the part we need to think about. Is it actually a case of you need to work on the other things going on with that meals, or accepting that appetites do this? We're going to have some meals that seem to be eaten well and some that seem to be not eaten well. And actually, removing that screen can help you to get an idea of what is happening. And actually, when we can relax into it, remove that screen and not be reliant on it, we can get a better picture as parents of what is actually going on. So, in summary, work out, is that really needed? Is it something that your child actually needs, or have they just become reliant on it? If you've introduced it because you want your child to eat more, that again might not be necessarily, because the appetite is going to fluctuate. We don't want to be pushing children to eat beyond their fullness. If your child does generally eat happily at some meals and you only use it at some, we don't need to use it. But the final thing is, let's acknowledge that screens can be very useful. And if you are going out for dinner, or you've got something going on and you really need your child to just be focused, whatever it is, screens are not the absolute enemy. Let's not allow other people to judge us and dictate what we should and shouldn't be doing at meal times. So if you're going out, you've got a family meal, you've got people over, I personally would say, go easy on yourself. Don't worry about it too much. If it's a once in a while thing, you don't need to worry. Obviously, these things are always going to be slightly different depending on your family situation. If you would like more input, or you need some more advice, you can get in touch either via my website, via my Instagram, @the Early Years Dietitian, and have a lovely day.